As someone who lives and breathes college football, I can promise you that this season will bring the mayhem. You'll feel it during huge wins and heartbreaking losses, on game-winning drives, or on drives that end in a post-game fender bender. This season, I'm teaming up with Allstate to highlight these key moments to let fans know if mayhem can show up on game day, imagine what can happen the rest of the week.
For expert advice, call your local agent today.
And now, Jalen and Jacoby on ESPN Radio.
When I pop the trunk, head the dead. Y'all pop the trunk, I pop the hood.
Now act stupid, I'll pop the trunk. Now give me your boom.
He is Jalen Anthony Bro.
What up, dog?
I'm David Jacoby.
And on the cool check-in, center stage on the mic.
And we putting it on wax. It's the new style.
With Jalen and Jacoby. What do?
We get the people what they want.
Jalen Rose, we are going to cover every single game in the NFL yesterday, but nothing is more important than what went down Saturday night in the Staples Center. In a tight back and forth, tense game between the Rockets and the Lakers. James Harden went to the bucket, got fouled as he always does, and then got pushed by Ingram. Now Ingram's pointing fingers at the ref, and then it started to get weird. Lance Stevenson, always the calm, cool, collected. Then we had the punches exchanged between Rondo and Chris Paul. Ingram gets involved, throws a punch. There he is rushing in, cocks back the right, long, straight right hand jab there. It all sort of started with a spit, which the internet has found from the mouth of Rajon Rondo to the face of Chris Paul. What do you think about this? Is this all Rondo's fault because of the spit?
No.
No.
It's a lot to unpack. First, you start with Brandon Ingram because he's the initiator. And first and foremost, the James Harden play should have been an and one. They didn't call it right before or after the break.
It was a foul.
But Ingram was upset at the official. He was going to confront one official. And then he was going to confront a second official. And James Harden just happened to get in the way.
James was just there. Was James intentionally in the way a little bit? Maybe. But you have to be calm-headed enough to know to not let that bother you, especially to the way to push him the way he did.
So once you push James Harden, then everything goes for reaction. Now, Chris Paul and Rajon Rondo professionally have discord, playing against one another.
For over a decade.
Two guys that play below the rim, that are tough, that are feisty, that fight for every inch on the floor literally, and competitive. So I'm not surprised that two veterans that have gone against each other a long time have bad blood. And during that game, there were a couple of situations where they got tangled up. One in particular, Rondo fell. The second one, CP3 threw up the bicep after he scored. So really, they were kind of brewing to get into it anyway. And so once they squared off, they went back and forth, and then Rajon Rondo spit on Chris Paul.
Okay, so for the first 12 hours of this, no one could find the spit. Because Chris Paul was like, this dude spit on me. Even Carmelo Anthony in the postgame sort of alluded to it, but no one could find the spit. And it wasn't until Sunday morning when the undefeated internet, found the shot of the spit. So I have a hot take on this. Spit wasn't that bad. There wasn't that much spit that came out. I mean, it felt like a little spit, but it wasn't like he hawked a loogie on him.
It's all equal and relative because in that dynamic, you would almost much rather somebody punch you than spit on you. It's almost the psyche that you hear from NFL players saying they'd rather be hit in the head than hit in the knees. It's the exact same thing. It's a level of disrespect that you have when you attempt to do that to someone. And once Rondo does that, then all bets are off for the retaliation.
And then so Chris Paul, in response to the spit, puts his finger in his hand sort of in Rondo's face, which is another trigger. That's another trigger, and it triggers Rondo to who you forget is left-handed until he throws a round left and lands right on Chris Paul.
He lands his left. Chris Paul lands an uppercut. And obviously, people are trying to break it up. Brandon Ingram comes from the back with a wild haymaker into the pile.
He seemed just mad.
And what it showed me is a young player who's the longest tenured player with the Lakers and rightfully so because he's a professional athlete, is feeling the pressure of a team that didn't make the playoffs the last couple of years, that now has added LeBron James. Their games have been heightened. It was on national TV. The stage is a lot larger, and people are calling upon him to be that second all-star that's going to help LeBron James accomplish a lot of their goals. And if you look at how he plays with a stoic demeanor, doesn't necessarily show outwardly emotion, for him to show that level of outburst, I think that partly was a trigger as well.
So there's a lot of questions I want to ask you about this, right? But one I want to ask is this, I paid very close attention to this. You know I love drama. You know I love conflict. And we always say we don't promote violence on this show. When we say the hold me back stuff, we always put an asterisk with it. I'm going to say this. I absolutely loved every second of this. I love that they actually threw punches. I love that they don't like each other. I love that these two teams don't like each other. I love that they're going to play again this season. I love everything about this. Do I promote violence? Do I think violence is wrong? Do I think violence is the wrong way to solve a problem? Yes, yes, and yes. Am I super happy that this happened so we get to talk about it and we get to focus on this for the rest of the year? Yes, absolutely. I'm not ashamed to say that.
You're wrong, and I'm happy to be here to correct you because they can still be rivals. They can still compete as hard as possible. They can still have a level of dislike for the opponent without throwing fisticuffs. There's a reason why when two individuals get into a ring and they're about to do a prize fight, it's called boxing, because there's a level of sophistication that comes with how you behave when things get a little physical, when things don't necessarily, when somebody getting up in your grill, when somebody elbows you, somebody flagrant fouls you, the level that goes over the top is when you start to throw punches.
Well, what about when you spit on someone's face?
Isn't
that over the top?
Oh, absolutely. Here's what I think in theory should have taken place. I think the commissioner, Adam Silver, who loves this program, who I feel like is one of the best in the game,
shout out,
should have suspended Brandon Ingram 15 games.
Wow.
Should have suspended Rajon Rondo 10 games and Chris Paul 2.
That seems heavy-handed, Mr. Rose.
Once you appeal it, it ultimately is Ingram misses 10 games and Rondo misses 7 or 8. And here's why. Bobby Portis punched his teammate Mirotic in practice. We didn't see this happen. He got 8 games. The Clippers, when they had an issue at the Staples Center and they were trying to find the back door, allegedly to get from Houston was trying to get into the Clippers locker room, those players got 2 games.
Houston should know where the tunnel is by now. Like, y'all tried this last year. You're in the same building. You should be able to find the tunnel now.
So I'm not just making up these numbers. I literally am comparing them to instances that took place that weren't on camera, that weren't for public consumption.
Give me the theory.
This was a large stage.
Give me the theory.
And I think, because I was looking down at my phone, there are so many people that believe that the league did not want to put the Los Angeles Lakers in a peril situation so early in the season.
Bad for business.
By handing out lofty suspensions to an iconic brand that just added LeBron James in a tough Western Conference where teams 3 through 9 were only separated by 2 games last year.
A win in October is just as valuable as a win later in the season. And if you suspend Brandon Ingram for 15 games, wait, where do they play their game on local TV? No, they don't. They play all their games on national TV. And what the league doesn't want to do is look up and see the Lakers are 3-8. Or 3-10. And that's probably what would happen if you take away Rondo and Ingram for this many games. So are you saying, but here's what you do, because I like what you do. You deflect a little bit. You're like, hey, I'm looking at my phone and so many of these people think that there's some sort of conspiracy afoot. Do you think that goes into consideration when Adam Silver and Kiki Vandeweghe and whoever else are getting together and coming up with these suspension numbers?
Well, Kiki was in the game, was at the game physically, and he saw the instance take place. I think you take in totality all of the information before you make a quality decision. That's what smart people do. And it's not just basketball, it's professional. And you have a lot of people that are excited about the year. It was their first home game. And so, again, and I appreciate you quantifying what I said like I didn't say it, like I wanted to say it, but I'm putting it on other people. That's not what I did. That's what you did. I'm saying that's what people in the league on other teams truly believe.
I believe it too.
If that was us that doesn't have the national acclaim that's going to be on TV all of those games, we probably would have got a heavier hand from the league.
I think that those people are right. I think those people are right. Follow the money. If they're on national TV, they're the biggest thing going in the NBA right now. The Warriors have won 2 straight championships. They're about to go for third. They've still got KD, Steph Curry, but I still would rather watch a Lakers game than a Warriors game.
Jerry Tarkanian, rest in peace,
shout out,
once said, the great UNLV coach, when the NCAA gets mad at Kentucky, they put Cleveland State on probation.
Mm-hmm. That makes perfect sense, especially in this case. So one thing I want to say out of all of this, and if we could look at the footage of the fight again, we'll just kind of like go through it, is there's been some criticism about not just the behavior of Rondo and Chris Paul, but there's also been some criticism about some of the other players involved or not involved. If you watch sort of Carmelo Anthony there, he's just not, James Harden and Lonzo Ball just kind of saunters over. They don't necessarily aggressively hold back teammates. They just kind of watch and observe. See, LeBron James gets involved and tries to hold somebody back. Do you think it's fair to criticize players who are just kind of bystanders?
It's almost the theory of rubbernecking when you're on the freeway. You wonder why there's traffic, and then you realize that there's an accident on the other side of the freeway. Okay. The people are just watching. And so when situations like this happen, you're going to have innocent bystanders. That just, you're in awe of what's taking place. These aren't fighters. These aren't people that woke up that day and felt like, oh, it's going to be a physical altercation. And also, these things in basketball make you a lot of money. Mm-hmm. This is how you eat. Okay, so each time you throw a punch, you have a chance to bust a hand, fracture a digit. And so you have to be smart, number one. But number two, for LeBron James, it's a no-win situation. I've seen so many people talk about this topic. And I have 2 brothers, okay? And I'm going to put you on the playground and not put you in an NBA game.
Okay.
You punch my brother, even if you running with me in a rec game, eventually this run gonna end. I gotta go home with him. Okay. And the last time I checked, Chris Paul and LeBron James are the godfathers of each other's kids. Okay. Blood's thicker than water. Only in certain cases. Y'all gotta listen to more of the locks. You need water to live. You learn that in the basics. So for LeBron, there's nothing he can do. If he holds back Rondo, if he holds back CP3, if he falls back, there's nothing an iconic basketball player in that situation can do to not be criticized. And lastly, people hate to say this, but the game has changed. When Michael Jordan was the best player in the game, it would be commonplace to see him grapple with Reggie Miller and or get into a physical altercation in practice with Steve Kerr. But now with social media and cameras everywhere, the public, they don't want to see LeBron James fighting. They don't want to see him throwing punches.
And also, I think people point out Lonzo Ball didn't do anything. It's like, what do you want him to do? Do you want him to run in like Ingram? Like now it's like, all right, so we're going to get mad at Ingram because he's too aggressive and he's wild and he's throwing punches and he should be suspended more. But we're also going to criticize Lonzo Ball, who's just like, look, this is an NBA fight. It's going to be over in 10 seconds. Why am I going to run over and just act like I'm going to do something when I don't have anything to do?
And also, you get more guys suspended. See, this is the other thing people sleep on. Like the more people engage, the more people get suspended, which cripples your team because those guys are out.
Next thing you know, Beasley's starting.
Which hampers your opportunity to continue to advance toward your goals. So how every person handled it is up for criticism, but that's why those people are watching it on TV and those guys are on the floor.
Jalen, I just want to point out that Lance Stevenson is the voice of calm and maturity and a leader in the clubhouse. But as you so intently watch this, what comes to mind?
A lot of things come to mind that was an and one. James Harden's bucket. Brandon Ingram started it based on the fact that he was going to have an altercation with the ref. I think people are sleeping on that part. Chris Paul and Rondo, who have a history, clearly got face to face. Rondo spits in Chris Paul's face. Chris Paul responds by pointing in his face. Rondo throws a left. Chris Paul throws an uppercut. And Brandon Ingram comes in with a late haymaker that nobody applauds.
So, Jalen Rose, something interesting happened. There was a lot about this is like, well, how come this person didn't jump in or Brandon Ingram's a real one because he tried to jump in to back up his buddy. Well, there's also this information from The Athletic. Let's take a look at what The Athletic reported. They said Rondo's girlfriend had sparked a verbal confrontation with Chris's wife in the stands, according to sources. What do you make of that information?
These two gentlemen do have a past of getting in each other's face and getting under each other's skin. This is not new in
But what do you think
NBA
about the ladies
circles.
getting after it in the stands?
This is not new in NBA circles for fans and or friends and or family members to have disagreements and or altercations in the fans because one's cheering for one squad, the other's cheering for another squad. These type of things happen. So I'm not going to act like that had anything to do with Brandon Ingram's reaction.
Sure. There was also a reaction about this that really stood out to me. Are you familiar with the Red Hot Chili Peppers?
Yes, I am.
Anthony Kiedis, the lead singer of the Red Hot Chili Peppers, was escorted out of the building by security because he got into it with Chris Paul as well. What? That's where this is at now. Now the celebs with the front row seats are getting involved.
Sit down, eat your slice of pizza, and be quiet. Like Slick Rick would say.
Great reference.
Shout out.
Well, it was tense inside the Staples Center on Saturday night. And it got a little tense outside the Staples Center on Saturday night as well. Let's take a look.
Games. What do you take that's encouraging?
Well, it's encouraging that you got LeBron James on.
So we have the Laker faithful outside the Staples Center chanting at you, Jalen Rose. 81. How did it feel in the moment?
I'm a highly trained professional. Whether I'm standing on the floor interviewing somebody during a playoff game and Nick Van Exel throws a towel, keep on going. Whether I'm at Illinois and the fans are chanting crack house, just keep on going. Kobe Bryant's one of the greatest basketball players of all time. Mm-hmm. He did score 81 points when I played for the Toronto Raptors. Sometimes your critics are true. It's okay. I was in a basketball environment. They just left the gym. They were hostile. They seen a fight. They saw me. They wanted a punching bag. They said wheelchair for Paul Pierce. They said 81 for me. When you've been around as long as I have, people can always look back at your journey and pick out things to clown you about.
Of course.
But I want people to also take this lesson. There's a reason why people want to tease you sometimes and or clown you or try to hurt your feelings. A lot of times it's because you're winning. And that's the best revenge. To do your best and be your best and be seen. They couldn't cheer me or boo me if I wasn't on that prime stage.
I saw a video of this moment, though, and it looked to me like after they were chanting your name 81, you stood up and turned around off camera and showed them your hairline?
Well, here's what happens.
Okay, explain.
So, how do you respond? And this happens to all of us, and I'm going to give you a good example. And I've thought a lot about this. Like, I've made fun of the Kawhi laugh like everybody else. Mm-hmm. But imagine if he came out in a couple of years like DeMar DeRozan or Kevin Love and said he has some sort of issue. Then people will feel bad about it. But they don't feel bad about it now because everybody wants to profit off of your pain. And so for me, I learned that a long time ago because being skinny, having bad skin, having bad teeth, being broke, people tease me my entire life.
Sure.
And so when you get used to it, it becomes water under the bridge. It makes you want to be better at who you are. So it happened. I'm all good with it.
Why did you show them your hairline?
Well, I stood up to show them that I was clean, first off, on national TV.
You look good. Okay.
Yeah, I was 3-piece down. Shoes was fly.
All right.
And so that's all.
Okay. Moving on. Saturday night, Jokic absolutely destroyed the Suns. He had a triple-double. He was 11 for 11 from the field. In the triple-double, he had over 10 assists. How many turnovers did he have, Jalen Rose?
None.
0 turnovers. Didn't miss a shot. Had no turnovers. Had a triple-double and led the Nuggets past the Suns. Last night, the Nuggets played the Warriors. And it also came down to the very, very end. The second Warriors game that came down to a last shot, and it was Hernan Gomez's block that solidified the win against the Warriors. Do you think the Nuggets will continue the success throughout the season?
For people who follow our show, they've seen that we've given love to the Nuggets, unlike a lot of national media members, because covering this game for a long time, I figured it out. A lot of times, people only pay attention to 5 teams and 10 players. They don't look deeper into the box score. And so for the Golden State when you beat the Golden State Warriors, people start to pay attention. Mm-hmm. When you put up the kind of numbers that Jokic putting up, people start to pay attention, especially the way he dominated the number 1 overall pick, Ayton. And so their starting lineup, as you pointed out, is really stout. They not only will be a playoff team, but they're going to exceed a lot of people's expectations other than ours, because we've been talking about them a lot.
Let's keep it.
As a young boy, Gavin loved playing football. He lived and breathed it, wanted to go pro. Why, he'd spend hours upon hours just practicing his touchdown dances. And one day, while getting fitted for bifocals, he realized he was never much good at throwing, or running, or catching, or even kicking. Yeah, Gavin's chances of playing pro football were looking like 4th and long. Very long. But he did hear how Geico could save him money on car insurance, so he switched and saved. Then he did kind of a touchdown dance. At least he was still good at that.
Every week it seems like the same question about the NFL is upon us. Where are my homies? Where are my homies? I actually thought that the resurgent Cincinnati Bengals were going to go into Kansas City and give the Chiefs a game. I was so wrong. Patrick Mahomes and his homies did what they always do. They just tore up the Bengals defense for yards and yards and yards. This Kareem Hunt jumping over people after breaking other tackles. Hill was running around people. Mahomes was doing Mahomesy type of things, throwing touchdowns. It was a great performance, not just from the Chiefs offense, but more notably from the Kansas City Chiefs defense. Jalen Rose, is the defense, this improved resurgent defense, the key to them getting to the Super Bowl?
And don't sleep on the fact that once they get back Houston and Barry, who are probably their 2 best defensive players, that clearly is going to help improve what they're doing on that side of the football. But their offense, as you mentioned, is as explosive as we've ever seen.
It's almost a given. Like when I watch that team, it's like I wonder how the defense is going to play, because I know the offense is going to put up
3 touchdowns. People forget he led the league in rushing just last year. Tyreek Hill has not only blazed the league with his speed, but now his route running, his ability to find the end zone. Kelsey continues to put up numbers. Like Sammy Watkins made big plays. Like this squad has unlocked this offense with Patrick Mahomes. And shout to Andy Reid, who A, had the foresight to draft him.
Shout out.
B, give him a year to be nurtured under Alex Smith, a team that was really good but had a ceiling. And like Jim Harbaugh, Andy Reid took a chance of putting him out there with the winning team and is rewarded by this level of success that we're seeing from Mahomes.
It's one thing when you've been in sports media for so long is you understand how narratives change over years. Andy Reid was a punchline as a head coach, especially with the Eagles, clock management. He used to always get clowned, Andy Reid in the playoffs and this and that. Now Andy Reid is being celebrated like he's some guru who's changing the game. And it's like, I remember this. I'm sure he does too. Like 3 or 4 years ago, no one was talking about how great I am as a coach, but now we're all just singing his praises every single week.
Philly, so any of his naysayers in that situation, you can point to anybody's scenario that's been somewhere a long time and point to the bad decisions that they've made. But he's always been a quality coach. A lot of his assistants go on to get jobs throughout the league. That shows the level of respect that he garners. And again, Mahomes, the way he's playing is truly been outstanding. A guy that doesn't look like he sounds, yet when he gets behind center, I tell you what, he's lighting this league up.
He really is. And another team who's almost been overshadowed by the Chiefs lighting this league up, Los Angeles Rams. The Los Angeles Rams continue to be undefeated. They went up against C.J. Beathard and the Niners, who kind of gave him a little bit of a game at first. Aaron Donald sacked C.J. 4 times. I'm finally ready to ask this question. I've been resisting it. Do you think the Rams will finish the season 16-0?
I don't think they'll finish the season 16-0, but I do think that their ability to have dominance on both sides of the football, usually you can't argue that a team has the best defensive lineman and or player in Donald, but also has the best running back and or player in Gurley. They have that. And so they're going to continue to be successful, but I don't see them going undefeated. It's just too tough.
The Panthers beat the Eagles, but what I want to talk to you about is what happened before the game. Now, we all know Eric Reid has been recently signed by the Panthers, and here was the scene before the game. Malcolm Jenkins on the Eagles, Eric Reid is on the Panthers, and let's listen to what went down.
I need the bat for this. This is heavy.
Explain what happened before the game started on the little dust-up before the coin toss.
No.
You exchanged words with Malcolm Jenkins. You want to explain what that was about?
No.
Does it have anything to do with the disagreement about the Players Coalition?
He's a sellout.
Why do you say that?
Because he's a sellout.
Is that what you told him?
Yes. I believe Malcolm capitalized on the situation. He co-opted the movement that was started by Colin to get his organization funded. It's cowardly. He sold us out. He was corrupt from the jump. He knew what he was doing from the onset. His goal was to sell us out, and he did that.
I would never get up here and say anything bad about somebody who I know whose intentions were real about helping, their community, especially another black man. So I'm going to leave it at that.
What does Eric Reid mean when he co-opted the movement started by Colin?
I hate this so much, to see two of my brothers who intentions and hearts were in the right place, but it has gone wrong for public consumption. And initially, that's why Eric didn't want to comment. That's why
he started off by saying no to everything. Yeah,
he didn't want to go there. And what that is, and I hate that it's playing out like this, it ultimately has become a different version of black on black crime. And we see this take place throughout the annals of society, in particular in the civil rights movement. For example, when Martin Luther King had his vision of turn the other cheek, but Malcolm X had his eye for an eye. They both still wanted to get toward the same goals, but their views were just different. And when the media and the press take those two thoughts and they put them through a spin cycle, it created a level of division amongst a lot of people that ultimately followed both guys. In this case, Eric used some really strong words. They all started with a C: co-opt, capitalized, and corrupt. And I followed this story as it happened. And real time, the division basically came with the fact that, for those that don't know, Colin Kaepernick was initially the person that took a knee for social injustice, and you'll use the platform of the national anthem for it to be seen. Eric Reid was right beside him the first time that he did it. When a coalition of NFL players was created to try to get toward a solution, they didn't see eye to eye because ultimately Colin Kaepernick wasn't a part of those decisions, those conversations, and he should have been. And when a deal gets struck in theory by the NFL with the players that basically redirects the money that they were going to donate for breast cancer over the next handful of years, and that number was about $100,000, and I did the math, that's like $3 million per owner. You can say it may seem like a lot of money, but you can also say that it may not seem like it's a lot of money. Now, as somebody that is clearly philanthropic, any time, energy, or money that somebody spends towards charity, I support. So with that level of division, Malcolm Jenkins, leading the coalition, agreed to that deal.
Yep.
But he didn't see eye to eye with Eric Reid or Colin, who removed himself, Reid, from the coalition because there was a division and a fork in the road. So when these two gentlemen, one who was out of the league because of his beliefs, finally gets a job with Carolina, and he runs into Malcolm Jenkins on the field, I am not surprised that they had this level of discord when they saw one another.
Justin Tucker is the greatest field goal kicker I've ever seen in my life. The greatest place kicker I've ever seen. 222 straight extra points. And then here they go. They get in. They tie up the game. It's 23-24. All Justin Tucker needs to do is put the ball through the uprights, and he misses. Wide right. Jalen Rose. How shocking was this moment for you sitting on your couch on Sunday?
22 twos, like the Jay-Z song. Big time drive by Joe Flacco.
Shout out.
I've seen a lot of missed field goals, a lot of missed extra points
A
since
lot of
they
them.
moved it
Impactful
back.
ones, yep.
The last couple of years, I think it was a good move by the NFL, but shout to Drew Brees. 500 touchdown passes.
The Browns lost again, and when the Browns don't just lose, they lose in spectacular fashion. This time they lost to the Bucks. Baker Mayfield doing things. Jarvis Landry reaches over, gets into the end zone. Look at this again. We have a tie game with 4 seconds left in the game. He misses it. They're going to overtime, and in overtime, the Browns, great run back. Oh, look, he's making a move, jumping over people, but he forgot the football. And then the Bucks set up this kick, 59 yards, straight dagger into the heart of the Cleveland Browns fans. What do you think about the Browns?
I think this season is going to cost Hugh Jackson his job.
I think it should.
They were 1-31 coming into this year, and their expectations were they should be a team that could win around 8 games. Of course, they're using Mayfield, a first-year quarterback. But they lost on a 59-yard field goal. That's the longest game winner in overtime history.
Next, in London, early morning game, especially if you're on the West Coast, the Titans go for 2 and fall to the Chargers across the pond.
I'm not mad at that decision, especially when you feel like you're playing against a better football team. They couldn't stop them offensively. So it kind of made sense that we have one play that can decide it. And they chose to go for it. I'm actually not mad at that
I'm
at
not
all.
mad at it at all. And I think it's something fun to show the London crowd. I really think the Chargers are part of the class of the AFC. For me, it's Chiefs, Patriots, Chargers.
Tyrell Williams was out there putting work in. Over 100 yards receiving.
The Patriots and the Bears. The Patriots were up for most of the time, but then Mitchell Trubisky had some nice plays. He threw some terrible passes, but he also threw some nice passes. It all came down to this Hail Mary attempt.
Come with me.
He throws it deep, and then you see White come down with the ball, but cannot get into the end zone.
What do we have here now?
What do you think about Trubisky?
I think that he continues to progress. Obviously, you want their defense to not give up so many points like they did, but you're going against Tom Brady. Without Gronk, you expect that to take place. They lost Sony Michel during the game.
Yeah, that was tough.
Those injuries, I think, eventually are going to cost the Patriots their goals.
They're losing Gronk. They're losing Michel. It looks tough. The Colts absolutely dominated the Bills. The Bills had a couple good games early in the year, but now they're not playing their rookie quarterback. They're not playing Peterman. They're playing Derek Anderson at the quarterback position. And now they host the Patriots on Monday night. What is up with the Bills?
I think this is probably the worst quarterback situation that I've ever seen take place in the NFL.
Outside of the Lions. The Lions have had some tough years.
But we've never had a Nathan Peterman.
No.
Okay? We never had, if you start this guy, the team is going to have a mutiny. So you go start a guy that ain't been in the NFL in 2 years, and he goes out there and clearly lose the game. But I have 2 words for the Colts. Franchise quarterback. They have one in Andrew Luck. That's why they have the win.
The Texans
got the win.
Franchise quarterback Deshaun Watson was banged up. Couldn't even take the plane to go play the Jags. And the Jags also have themselves a terrible quarterback position. Blake Bortles sat for Cody Kessler. Now they have an open position at quarterback. What is up with the Jags?
Good to see the Texans get it together and start protecting Deshaun a lot better. That was one of the main issues that team has had. But for the Jaguars, they can't get past how bad Blake Bortles is. I mean, here's a guy that's thrown 11 interceptions.
You remember that Patriots game, though? He was lights out.
And 10 turnovers. Okay? How about a guy that fumbled twice? You put the defense in bad situations. And so it's going to be interesting to see if they go out and try to get a Teddy Bridgewater? How about a Tyrod Taylor? For them and Buffalo, how about a Colin Kaepernick?
The Washington team is now 4-2 in the NFL, and the Cowboys are up against it at 3-4. What do you think about the strange way that the Cowboys tried to come back and win this in the fourth quarter?
I want to shout out Washington first and foremost, because on paper, I feel like people feel that the Giants in their division as well as the Cowboys have more talent. And I wanted to peel back the onion a little more and try to figure why they have a better record than those teams. Probably have a better coach, definitely have a better quarterback. For the Dallas Cowboys, you got to find ways to get Ezekiel Elliott the ball. Only 13 rushes, 5 in the second half. He has to be more of an integral part of what they do.
Well, Adam Thielen is an integral part of what the Vikings do. They beat up on the Jets, but Thielen was balling. I mean, he had touchdown after touchdown after touchdown. Is Adam Thielen in the discussion to be the best wide receiver in the National Football League?
Absolutely. 100 yards receiving to start the season, 7 straight games?
7 games in a row.
I saw the list of people that have done that. It is truly impressive. Almost as impressive as me watching 10-plus hours of football yesterday and remembering all of this without notes.
You consider that impressive?
Absolutely.
I'm not impressed, Jalen.
And they have a quarterback.
Moving on.
Kirk Cousins.
Is there like a sound or a syllable that represents how you feel the Lions?
And don't sleep. Pistons won. Michigan State got beat by the Wolverines, and Ohio State lost. Saturday was a beautiful day.
And the Lions won on Sunday.
We have an identity. People didn't believe we could take down the Patriots. We did. People didn't think we could take down the Packers. We did. Then off a bye week, now all of a sudden we can run the ball. Carry on, Johnson. 153
You look great.
Yards rushing.
You look great.
Matthew Stafford finding the tight end now, had 2 touchdowns. What did everybody have to say about my squad? What y'all got to say about the Lions now? Huh?
Jalen, I don't like the way you're holding that bat at me.
What you got to say about the Lions now?
Please sit down when you hold the bat, please. Thank you.
This might be the year we go to the Super Bowl. Wait, what? All right, I'm just...
Okay. Jalen, I have some huge news for my weekend this weekend. Me and Quincy are going...
Nephew!
...to Monster Jam.
That's awesome.
We ordered him the headphones, the noise-canceling headphones. I'm making a weekend out of it. We got a hotel with an indoor pool. We'll be swimming at before and after Monster Jam.
I need to be going with y'all.
It's going down at Monster Jam. You know how I got the tickets to Monster Jam?
How's that?
SeatGeek. Go to the SeatGeek app. Whether you want to go to an event like Monster Jam or a theater or any live event, sports, the Knicks games, anything, you can just browse what's going on around you with the SeatGeek app. You open up the SeatGeek app, and you know that you're going to get a great value. You know you're going to get the best tickets. Because what they do is instead of going to every individual ticket vendor, ticket site, and comparing deals, SeatGeek does all that for you. It's all right there. You just click on the app, and it makes the buying experience so easy. Every ticket that you purchase on SeatGeek is fully guaranteed. You can shop for tickets on SeatGeek with confidence. You know you're going to get the real deal. And they have a special thing where the tickets that are good values are green and the tickets that are bad values are red. Even I can figure that out. It was such a smooth and easy experience. And if you just downloaded the SeatGeek app and you're at checkout, they always have that little thing that says discount code. I never have a discount code. I see it there all the time. I always want to put something in the discount code. Well, if you're using SeatGeek for the first time, you put in the discount code Jacoby and you get $20 off your first SeatGeek purchase. I did it. The discount code works. I've been using SeatGeek so long that I don't get it anymore because it only works in your first purchase. But I'm telling you, get your SeatGeek app, download it to your phone, put in the Jacoby discount code, get a free $20, and get out, get something. You can live your life live wherever you want to sit with the SeatGeek app. Life's an event. SeatGeek has the tickets. Jalen Rose, I take interest in my close friends' rooting interests. You know, I'm a Die Easy fan.
Thank you, family.
So I am Michigan football all day.
Yes.
And I saw there was a big game.
Yes.
And the girls nap it around noon. And Quincy, we put on a movie for Quincy. He watched Ice Age. And I sat down and I watched the Michigan Wolverines against Spartans. Not only did they win, they went into East Lansing, stood in the middle of the field knowing that the Spartans every single time do that handhold thing. That was not a coincidence.
No
they
question.
Didn't just happen to be there.
No question.
And then defaced the logo.
Bush.
Disrespectful. Flagrant. And then won the game.
Yes.
Handily.
Yes.
How does it feel to be a Michigan Wolverine today?
Big Brother's back. And I don't want to make this rivalry personal because some people take their fandom way too serious. Some of my favorite people walking this earth went to Michigan State University. Magic Johnson, Steve Smith,
Jamel
Hill.
Shout out.
Michigan State University probably has 30 Jalen Rose Leadership Academy students that attend.
Oh, no. Go Spartans.
My nephew is a senior there currently.
Shout to Troy, my guy.
And we bet 50 push-ups on the game. And I appreciate him sending me the video right after.
How many sets?
But here's the thing.
Did he do 50 at once?
He did 50 straight.
No.
See, the problem with the bet was, in my head, I was like, I'm going to do 22 sets of 25.
Yeah, you can't do 50 straight. I know you right now.
I'll do 2 sets of 25. But in all honesty, it was what I consider a program win. And when you're around collegiate sports, here's what that means. It's one that you could go in living rooms when you're recruiting and say that we are now turning the corner of what we hope to be. And now our potential under Jim Harbaugh is truly been realized. And I really think that we have a legitimate chance to not only make the playoffs.
We hit the brakes for a second.
Hopefully we don't play Alabama to the championship game.
Can we hit the brakes for a second? Our potential as a program has been realized?
Yes.
What?
Jalen, you're acting like you just won the Big Ten championship and you were in the playoffs. Like, first of all, Penn State losing and Ohio State losing, not helpful for the Michigan Wolverines.
I didn't say it was the Big Ten championship or we won in the Final Four of the playoff. I said it was a program win.
What's the biggest game on the calendar every year for the Michigan Wolverines?
Michigan State, Ohio State.
The one game that's the biggest.
It's usually the one that's played on around Thanksgiving, and that's against the Buckeyes.
And so what would be the Michigan Wolverines record against the Buckeyes in the last 3 times they played?
Well, it's not just them. Like Michigan State and Ohio State have crushed us over the last decade.
Yes.
Okay, so by no means, and I've said it multiple times on this show, you've heard zero slander from those programs from me because they've owned us. And I bow down to greatness, and they've had it. But I will say, and I said this right after the allegations and the suspension earlier in the year with Urban Meyer, is this will be his final season. So when you see it at the bottom of the ticker,
remember where you heard
it's broken news. And the reason why I said it, not only based on the allegations that led him to fire one of his coaches and to be suspended.
It doesn't even feel right saying allegations at this point, knowing the details of that stuff.
Correct. It's tough to recruit when dirty pool happens. And let me teach you what that is. That's other programs coming into living rooms and telling the parents and telling the families and telling the recruit, oh, you're going to send your son to go play for that guy?
Mm-hmm.
Let me show you these articles that happened around that situation.
Maybe you haven't been keeping up with the latest regarding that program and what's going on behind the scenes. But let me pull your coat to some things.
Let me pull out my iPad and show you what he said at the Big Ten press conference about the situation.
Uh-huh.
And so I don't think he's going to be able to survive that long term. And I felt like his chance to lead a top tier program and hopefully win it all and ride off into the sunset, that opportunity vanished by the way they got spanked by Purdue. And so to your point, yes, it might not be as attractive overall as it relates to beating them since they already have a loss. But when it's your rival, just like against Michigan State, it still feels as sweet. But we still got to get it done.
Yeah, I think that the Michigan Wolverines could beat Michigan State, Penn State, Ohio State, still not make the playoffs and consider this.
Can I give a couple of shout outs? Our running back Higdon.
Shout out
for the Wolverines. And not only our wide receiver, but our kick returner, Peoples Peoples Jones.
Peoples Jones.
Peoples Jones.
That was a nice throw from Shay. That was a nice throw. I have to give one shout out. Keith Thomas.
Shout out.
Torrin's grandfather. Quincy's best friend. Torrin flew in from Los Angeles, hung out with Quincy all day on Sunday.
That's what's up.
Keith Thomas, big fan of the Jalen and Jacoby podcast. Big shout out to Keith Thomas.
And also, Q's the man. And when Q's happy, I'm
happy yesterday. You know why I was happy yesterday? When Torrin comes over, they get the girls and they get Torrin and they get into his room and it's no grown-ups allowed and they just play quietly together for hours on end.
They just cook.
They just cook in there and I don't have to parent at all. I'm watching football.
Awesome.
We're going to get into every single football game from this weekend.
That's great for him. His dad done turned into a television star and producer. He was living in L.A., having his friends, doing his thing. And his dad wants to uproot him to New York City to take a big job with Jalen and Jacoby, amongst other things.
Of course, we have to talk about Jimmy Butler, but let's briefly cover it. He, as you predicted, was booed during the Open, but then received MVP chants from the home crowd. They then went to Dallas, where Jimmy Butler rested. But here was the environment when some of the Timberwolves, especially Karl Anthony Towns, took the line to shoot their free throws. Let's listen.
Minnesota with their first free throw attempts in the fourth quarter after they had 16 in the third. Listen to this Jimmy Butler chant as Karl Anthony Towns is shooting free throws. Give it up to the fans.
Interesting. Do you think the Jimmy Butler chants will continue as he stays on the team and the Timberwolves move through the road?
It will. That's what heckling somebody is all about. And for Karl Anthony Towns, you got to make the free throw. That's almost like when they giving me 81 chance, my info got to stay tight. I got to stay locked in. I can't be saying wrong names. I can't be giving wrong information. I can't fumble my words. I can't stop speaking. Okay. Now that's only one play. Okay. I don't think it bothered him too much because the last time I checked, he scored over 30 and had a great game. It just a loss.
Well, there's a gentleman in the secondary of the BC Lions in the CFL. And he was very enthusiastic about the incoming play. And here's what happened. You'll see him right there. He's circled. He's excited about this play. And he wants all the smoke. And he wants the Edmonton Eskimo wide receiver to come right at him. And he does! And knocks him right on his back. Jalen Rose, what do you think his teammates talked to him about after this?
They laughed. Because also, if you don't watch CFL football, and this coming from somebody that lived a couple of years in Toronto, people don't realize that you don't actually get American ESPN over there, is that the wide receiver could get a running start.
And they can start 4 yards back and run up.
That's the part that like, you don't see that in the NFL. Like this wide receiver could get a running start like he's a linebacker going downhill. And so in theory, that was a pancake in reverse.
Jalen. We're going to have to end the show on a sad note.
No.
Something happened over the weekend.
No.
It really got me sad.
Red Man and Method Man not in How High too?
That's still the case. And that really bothers me, but I was really excited about a certain story in the world of sports. Because you know, my Red Sox, and now I call them my Red Sox because they're in the World Series.
So die easy.
I jump on the bandwagon when I want to. They're in the World Series, and they've had some trouble getting there. And one of the troubles has been Chris Sale was hospitalized because of a stomach issue. And Chris Sale went to the media, and there's a lot of mystery around this stomach issue. And he explained exactly what the root cause of it was. Let's listen to Chris.
I had irritation from a belly button ring. Just kind of constantly taking it in and out, causing irritation, got a rash down there. So, I had to take care of that.
Chris Sale, as you heard, had an irritation with the belly button ring. And I was so excited to talk about this on Monday. Me and the staff got together. We had a plan for this topic. I was going to get a belly button ring on Sunday and come in and show it.
What?
Chris Sale was not hospitalized because of irritation because of a belly button ring. He told the teammates that he was going to try to fool the media. And he fooled us. And all of our plans were foisted. We were going to lead the show with Chris Sale's belly button ring. I was going to get a belly button ring.
What? You were?
Now I wasn't really going to get a belly button ring. Jalen, real quick. You know we love power couples. It's the end of an era for a power couple. Diddy and Cassie, after 11 years, broke up. Did you follow this as closely on the internet as I did?
I did. I saw it was trending. He was, she was, and I clicked on a couple of the links. They said that they reportedly were together 11 years, and then he decided to date someone else.
Yeah. Much younger someone else. However, we support all power couples.
We do.
And I support Cassie's next power couple. I've always been a big Cassie fan. I think she's a Connecticut native, as a matter of fact.
Shout
out. Shout to her. Big shout to Keith Thomas again. Big shout to the Michigan Wolverines. Big shout to you for listening. We love our podcast listeners. We'll be back tomorrow. Why is that, guys?
We're not done. Got to give the people time. Give people what they want.
They're my little guys. I love them.
Speaking of the Hobbits, let's talk about LeBron James for a second.
Whether it's music or whiskey, in New Orleans, every note matters. And every sip of Southern Comfort dances to the same vibe as our birthplace. So drink it in. Southern Comfort, the spirit of New Orleans. Discover more at southerncomfort.com.